Oklahoma is the first state in the nation to be given control over regulation of coal ash pits. Scott Pruitt, administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, signed the job over to the state, which has run the federal regulation program for years now. Now the environmental groups are threatening lawsuits amid claims that the state has already allowed the pits to pollute Oklahoma groundwater.
In signing over regulatory authority to the state, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt said he was placing oversight into the hands of those who are best positioned to oversee coal ash management.
We were already doing it. We were already in the permitting process. We were already doing inspections. So it just makes sense.
Fenton Rood is Assistant Director for the Land Protection Division of the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. He is confident the agency has been doing a good job of enforcing federal rules and will do an even better job, he says, now that state rules are enforced.
We've got 5 sites that this applies to. We are working with each of the regulated community to ensure compliance.
Those 5 sites now under state control are Big Fork Ranch near Ponca City, AEP PSO's disposal site near Oologah, a GRDA ash pit at Choteau, OG&E's Muskogee Station, and the Western Farmers Yugo coal ash pit. The transfer of enforcement followed an EPA hearing in Oklahoma City in early March, where public comment was dominated by opponents to state control. That opposition has now spread to major national environmental groups.
Oklahoma's history of enforcement and protection of its communities and citizens from coal ash is dismal.
Jennifer Castle is an attorney with Earth Justice. The organization is preparing a lawsuit against the EPA to stop the transfer of oversight of coal ash to the state agency.
We don't believe there will be much of it over to the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. And we think it's putting Oklahoma communities and the waters that Oklahoma depends on at risk.
Earth Justice, along with the Environmental Integrity Project, issued a report that examined groundwater tests from several of the state's ash dumps.
We found that there are, in fact, exceedances of health-based standards that EPA has issued in terms of what concentrations are safe in groundwater and drinking water.
Every place that you have a coal plant or a coal ash disposal unit, if you look, you'll find groundwater contamination.
Abel Russ is an attorney with the Environmental Integrity Project. Their report found arsenic, boron, cobalt, lithium, molybdenum, radium, selenium, and sulfate in groundwater under the disposal pits, chemicals that can cause cancer, neurological damage, among other health problems. The levels were in excess of federal drinking water standards.
Most of these coal ash disposal units are either landfills or they're impoundments, but in either case, they're not properly lined. It's very easy for the constituents of coal ash to leach out from the ash into the groundwater.
Current regulations call for a coal ash pit to have a 2-foot layer of clay and a thick plastic liner, but that is a new rule, which means Oklahoma's coal ash pits don't have that protection.
They were all built before that requirement became part of our rules. So the rules require that type of liner installation whenever they expand laterally.
DEQ did require the pit at AEP PSO's ash pit in Oologah to include a liner, but on top of existing coal ash, as well as a system to control the groundwater because of pollution.
Our central mission at DEQ is to protect people. And so we are constantly looking at that information and looking at how people are exposed.
But protecting the public did not come up back in February of 2016 when the DEQ board approved the agency's new rules for regulating coal ash. According to the minutes of that meeting, Jeffrey Shepard, chairman of DEQ's Solid Waste Management Advisory Council, listed 4 reasons for the transfer of authority. Number 2 on the list was the DEQ has been told by industry that complying with the state rules may offer some protection from citizen suits. If there is a citizen suit, it makes industry's position stronger if they have a permit and compliance schedule with DEQ. Bud Ground, president of the Environmental Federation of Oklahoma, a trade group that represents the energy industry, thanked the agency for taking on the job, saying because we felt as an industry it would protect us more, and as described from the third-party lawsuits. That's something that Fenton Rude says is a good thing for the public.
The DEQ has our normal enforcement authorities that we operate in every regulatory program. So we can take enforcement action. We also have a robust citizen complaint system so we can respond to complaints.
Not included under these new regulations is the coal ash dump just outside of Bocoshi, Oklahoma. The dump is exempted under federal law because the ash is being dumped into a former coal mine, despite years of air and surface water pollution.
A lot of the contamination is coming from the unregulated units, and they're not regulated because maybe they're an inactive landfill for purposes of the rule or something like that.
AEP PSO Stan Whiteford issued a statement on the environmental group's contamination report, saying there is insufficient data to determine whether any groundwater protection standards are being violated. Other operators we contacted have yet to issue a statement.